What I'm going to tell you about in this video is fill you in on the report that you can get from a GoSat site. So a GoSat site basically is a site where we map out your field geographically, and we use that mapping in combination with satellite imagery to collect information on things like ETC crop water use. So let me start at the top. Basically we have a dashboard at the top and our graphs down the bottom. Now this particular GoSat site has an end date and you'll see it's no longer active. Now those two things in combination with this information here lets us collect this crop summary report as well. So let's go through that. We've got our location details, and interesting here I guess is the last reading and the fact that it's a cotton crop. We've got our rainfall data, which is relative on an inactive inactive GoSat site to this last reading. And then we've got our crop details. So we've got our planting date, our end date, our price per bale, and our yield per hectare. From this information, we can calculate this crop summary. So we've got our planting date and end date. And then we've got, based on our ETC data down here from the field and the satellite imagery, we've got our crop water use per hectare, ETC water use per hectare, our rain total, which comes from our weather station we've assigned to it, and our day degrees, again from our weather station. Over here we have our heat shock days, cold shock days, air temp max and air temp min. And you can see that comes from our weather station data down here. And we've got that all calculated out there. Next is our water use efficiency data, and this comes from the information that you've entered and saved here. So we've got our price per bale, our yield, and based on that and the ETC water use, we've calculated our water use efficiency of 3.85 kilograms per millimetre of water, 1.78 bales per megalitre, or $8.48 per millimetre of water. So that's our dashboard. So let's have a look at the rest of the report. Now the first thing you'll notice here is this print summary report, and this lets us print a PDF of this report. Now the first of our graphs is our ETC crop water use graph. And what you're seeing there essentially is the water use that we predict is being used by the crop. And the way that this is calculated essentially is it takes the satellite imagery of the field, and using the NDVI calculation or the infrared imagery, we can calculate a predicted water use of the crop at that point in time. And that's what that red line represents. The other line we've got going here is just our cumulative water use. Also, what we can do with this particular graph is look at individual images. Say for instance I select this image and click on that. Now these images come from different possible sources. It can come from the Sentinel satellites, it can come from the Landsat satellites. We always try and get the Sentinel satellite image because that's the highest resolution image that we can use. However, if we can't get one within a few days of that date, we use the Landsat 8 image or 7 image. So here you can see it's telling us that it managed to get a Sentinel image from the 13th of February. And it's mapped out the NDVI figure across our field. And you can use this legend up here to see what these colours represent. The other things we can map here are the KC calculated figures across the field, our NDRE figures, which are calculated across the field. And this is only available on Sentinel because it's the only satellite that gives us what we need to calculate that. And the last one here is the raw image, so that's the true image of the field. So there are our images. Underneath our ETC graph we have our rainfall graph, which is coming from our weather station. And again from our weather station underneath that is our day degree calculations and our temperature. data. So let's have a look at, I'll just turn one off. Let's get rid of the day degrees. And this is just our temperature. So the green line here represents our maximum temperature for the day. The orange one underneath that represents the minimum temperature for the day. And what we also see on there are heat shock days, which are represented by the red dots, and cold shock days, which are represented by the blue dots. And the summary for the heat shock days and cold shock days will be displayed here in the title. Now let's go back, look at our day degrees. What we've got here are horizontal lines, and you'll see these dashed ones, and they represent the various stages of the crop. And the red line going across here is our day degrees. So you can see here our day degrees line is going through the various stages of the crop. Things like first flower, peak flowering, and so on. So that is our